So, Christian, with your permission, may I open the box now?
Yeah, you can, of course.
Thank you very much.
Let's go for it.
Merci beaucoup, monsieur. Guys, what an amazing day. It is the day that I'm here at Vacheron Constantin in Plain-les-Ouates to pick up my 222. It's a watch I've been dreaming about for a year and a half since I saw it launched. I feel this is a combination of like Hanukkah, Christmas, and Chinese New Year all wrapped in one, so follow me. So as you know, the Vacheron Constantin 222 was created in 1977, designed by the incredible Jörg Heisig Sr., because Jörg Heisig Jr. is a friend of mine, and it was Vacheron Constantin's first integrated bracelet sports elegance watch. It was very unique in its design with a very particular kind of bezel, a case that was shaped like a table, so when you turn it in profile, it was perfectly flat. And it is, to me, one of the most extraordinary, elegant timepieces of all time. But what's amazing about it is Vacheron, when they relaunched this watch, they didn't just make a facsimile of the past, but they made an incredible, truly contemporary watch with an all-new movement. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me on this incredible day. I feel like it's Hanukkah, Christmas, New Year's, everything all at once. It is the day that I've come here to Vacheron Constantin in beautiful Plain-les-Ouates. Besides me is their heritage director and also one of my best friends, Christian Selmoni.
Thank you, Wei.
Thank you, sir. And today I'm going to unbox my very personal 222.
Wow.
So first, thank you so much for joining me, Christian.
Oh, come on. It's such a pleasure for me.
And as usual, you look absolutely magnificent. You are a sartorial demigod, I have to say. And you know, let's go back to last year, just before Watches and Wonders. We were in fact in this very room, and
very true.
I witnessed the revival of this iconic watch, the 222.
Yeah, and what was your first thought when you saw the watch?
Well, it's funny because you know every year I would speak to you and I would say, Christian, when are they going to revive the 222? And then I think I became like a bit of a broken record. I was like, Christian, and I feel like I have a lot of admiration for the fact that you were able to keep this completely discreet the entire time, that you knew when it was going to launch.
Yeah.
And I have to also say, and big shout out to Louis Ferla, because he launched it at exactly the right time. You know, he had created so much momentum behind the brand. It really made the overseas iconic in its own right, and then launched the 222 in 2022. So we will never forget as well.
So yeah, that was the little twist, if I may say.
Yes.
So launching it in the year 2022, right? Yeah, very much.
And I have to say, you know, in French there's this term called coup de foudre, you know?
Ah, yes.
Right? When you fall instantly in love.
Absolutely.
And it was a moment when I had a coup de foudre for this watch. I couldn't sleep. I was hallucinating, you know, imagining its beautiful 3N gold form at night. And you know, I hoped that one day I might be able to buy my own. And again, thank you so much to the people at Vacheron Constantin, to yourself, to Louis, to Laurent, to the beautiful Anne-Marie, to all of you guys for this incredible moment.
No, thank you so much. And you know what, I really agree with you. When you talk about good food, on my side, I have to say that
Sorry.
when I saw for the first time the prototype, so I was honestly blown away.
Right.
Because this is not a reintroduction, but it's a reinterpretation, however very faithful, as we know, to the original one. And I would say that the bracelet is just phenomenal.
Yeah, you know, I think one of the coolest things about this watch also was, I knew probably some vintage nerds would say, why did you not use the 1120? Which is, you know, the movement that was in the watch in the very original 1977 version of this watch, created by the wonderful Jörg Heisig for Vacheron. But to me, I have watches with that movement, and they are an immense pain in the ass to change the date.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons why we didn't decided to go for the 1121. But the other reason was, you know, the date window, which, as you know, on the vintage one is very much at the right of the dial. So with the 2455, we have a better balance on the watch face. That was one of the reasons. The second reason was, of course, the crown, which is a 3-position versus 2-position for the 1121.
Yeah, you know, that's the thing that I think you've done so beautifully, is that you've taken the iconography of one of the most ravishing watches of all time, but you've made it a fully contemporary watch as well. And when I put it on my wrist during that first, meeting with the watch, I felt the proportions were perfect. 7.95 in terms of thickness, the same original case diameter as launched in 1977 at 37 mm. And the sublime mastery of finishing that was across every aspect of the watch was just mind-blowing.
No, I fully agree with you again. And so I think our designer, he made a fantastic job in the sense that he really respected the design of the original one from Jörg Isaac. But there are some, slight little changes, some surfaces which are polished, which are really shining depending how the light is catching the surface, which brings a bit more, if I may say, of a sense of luxury or hyper elegance. So yes, very much. And what can I say? I think you're 100% right.
Thank you, sir. So, Christian, with your permission, may I open the box now?
Yeah, you can, of course.
Thank you very much.
Let's go for it.
All right. So, guys, this is the moment I've been waiting for well over a year. And so here we go. Wow, that is incredible. I feel like that it should be accompanied by some sort of like soundtrack when the box opens, I can actually feel my pulse rate like skyrocketing now. And of course, I had given my wrist dimensions to the wonderful people here at Vacheron, and they've fitted it perfectly. I'm going to close that box here. That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's absolutely sublime. And what I love about it is the sapphire case back, right? Instead of the mono block case, which was initially used for the watch, now you've got a 3-part case, and part of that is a see-through case back, which I think is really, kind of positions the watch in the right way also. And
as well, yeah.
Perfect view of the extraordinary finishing of the caliber 2455-2 with its wonderful rotor that says 222 on it as well.
Of course.
So, I love the fact that you also launched this watch in 3N yellow gold.
Right. We had a lot of discussion actually about launching the 222 in this color, but as you know, we did few 222 jumbo models, so something around 700 only, in all versions. So meaning steel, two-tone, and as well yellow gold, and as you know, maybe only one in white gold. And the idea was really to play, to play like the 70s, like you remember. So it was a decade of flamboyance, this very incredible 3N color, and I think it was a super good idea in a sense. It's really, we are back in the year 1977 with this kind of watches, and I think the decision for yellow gold was just the right one.
Yeah, there's such a beautiful warmth to this color. I mean, I also have the privilege to own another yellow gold Vacheron Constantin.
Yes, I remember.
A special order Cabinotier Corne de Vache chronograph in yellow gold. And incidentally, I did that entire journey with you, and that was one of the most wonderful journeys of all time.
Oh, same for me. That was a great, we had great moments, and you probably remember the Basel Fair.
I do.
I came a Saturday morning to see you with, I think, 5 samples of dials.
Yes.
That was just amazing. But this is another story anyway.
Yes. And we went to go to Medellin to actually look at how the dials were made as well.
We did.
Which was incredible. But I have to say, this watch is extraordinary. It is so perfect on the wrist. I mean, every detail is so wonderfully thought out and wonderfully executed as well. I see exactly what you're talking about in terms of the position of the date window.
I think that was, for me, well, actually, I do love the original 222. However, I've always been a bit puzzled by the date position.
Yeah. Also, not only is the date position much closer to the perimeter of the dial, because I'm looking at this wonderful vintage piece that you guys have from your archives as well, but the date window is much smaller as well. So from a legibility perspective, it's much harder to read. And also, the work that you've done on this bracelet is incredible.
I fully agree.
Were these made by Gay Frere back in the day?
Yes, it was, absolutely. Yeah. So I think it's showing very much the difference between, in terms of manufacturing techniques or technology, the difference between the 70s and 2022.
Yeah.
So I mean, it wouldn't have been possible to do such a bracelet that you have on your wrist
Yes.
in the 70s. So I think it's a great improvement compared with the vintage one.
It just lifts the quality of every aspect. The finishing on this watch is so sublime. And I think that, if you look at some of the watches that were created this year as well, I think you guys were the first ones to really bring back the whole idea of brushed gold as like as a big trend, and this watch is such a wonderful embodiment of it. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the cult of the 222. It has now become, I guess, a unicorn or a grail watch, or one of those watches that people, kind of like really revere and wish to own.
I think we all know that there is a huge trend in watchmaking about watches from the 70s, let's say sport elegant watches. And as a matter of fact, the 222 is certainly the most exclusive if you compare with some others that we know. And so I think this timepiece has been really rediscovered like, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And it became really a watch which is very much sought after. So I think it's, for me, I would say it's, I'm really happy because it gives justice to the design of Jörg Isaac. So I used to talk a lot with Jörg about this timepiece, and Jörg is such a fantastic guy. And he made just an amazing work. And so I think this watch, for me, I would say I love it very much because I think that, okay, this is a design from the 70s. This is a sport elegant timepiece, but I think it has 100% the roots of Vacheron Constantin in terms of style. Hyper elegant, super thin, all these things which are so important for us.
It's phenomenal.
And yeah, last point I would like to mention, Wei, is that also the 222, I mean, say the overseas third generation, the roots of the design of the overseas third generation, which was designed by Dino Modolo, they are into this timepiece here, the 222. Like the flat, we call it the flat table, meaning the flat case, and the bezel, which is really screwed on it. So these things, you see them as well on the first generation of the overseas from 1996.
Right.
So it's not, it's not immediate to look at it, but when you know the story, so Dino was really inspired by the 222, but obviously the two watches are very different.
Phenomenal.
So I think it adds as well interest to the original 222.
I love that, and I want to continue this conversation with you about the entire history of not just the 222, but the overseas. But I believe Vacheron Constantin is also known for art de vivre, and I believe that there's an incredible lunch waiting for us. So why don't we continue our conversation about the 222 and Vacheron and about the Phidias, which I believe you're wearing.
Yes. Yeah, so that was my little, just a little pleasure for today for you and I.
Amazing.
So here I mean, with the 222 we are back in 1977, and with this watch we are back in 1989. So another interesting timepiece from Vacheron Constantin, even it's very different from the 222.
Amazing, and I believe we're also going to be joined by the wonderful Anne-Marie Babanco for lunch as well.
Oh, great!
So she can join in and participate in this conversation.
That
so
would
guys,
be great.
Please join us. We're going to be doing that right now. So Alex, Anne-Marie, Christian, thank you so much for welcoming me to this incredible space that you have, and thank you for preparing this incredible lunch. Thank you, sir, as well, for selecting some extraordinary wines. That's very, very kind of you. So do you welcome guests? Do clients have the opportunity to come and here and pick up a watch and so on?
Absolutely. It's usually a special occasion to come here to the Manufacture and to be able to meet the people who are making the watches in our, what we like to call, the home of Vacheron Constantin. So this is exactly where you are, at the Manufacture. And this is for us a great opportunity to welcome guests here.
That's incredible.
In the intimacy of our Manufacture in Geneva.
That's maybe the first thing I want to talk about as well, is that you guys make extraordinary watches, and the watch that I'm wearing is the representation of a dream for me. But you're so nice. Right? And that's really interesting because in the watch world today, not everyone's so nice, and I have to say, like, there's brands where you walk into the store and you don't necessarily, whether you can or can't buy a watch, you don't necessarily feel that sense of welcoming. And I think Vacheron, and maybe it's the people behind the brand, have always expressed that so well. You know, is it important to you?
To be honest, I couldn't agree with you more. One of the things that struck me when I started at Vacheron Constantin was what we call in French bienveillance. And I think it's, I'm trying to find the right English translation for it, but it's good-naturedness towards other people. And I think it really strikes us as people work together as teams, together for the maison, for Vacheron Constantin. And there's really a collaboration, partnership, collective intelligence coming together. So it's a wonderful place to work. You'll see it as you meet people in the corridor, everyone says hello to each other. As you meet people in meetings, you really feel that sense of shared belonging and also shared objective, that people come together for the maison.
It's bienveillance.
Bienveillance.
Okay, so in that case, guys, here's the bienveillance. Thank you for welcoming me, Alex.
Cheers.
And Marie.
Cheers.
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 Cheers, Anne-Marie.
Christian,
Hey,
lovely
wait.
to see you, sir.
Cheers.
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 No, it's absolutely true because I started 10 years ago, and actually Vacheron Constantin is about the women and men that are working here. It's all about humanity. I mean, we know each other very well. As Alexandra said, we work together, we talk a lot.
Yeah.
Christian, you've been here for so many times, so many years that you can also
a bit more than you, but
confirm,
not that much. No, I think you're right. I think in addition as well, I think this client centricity, I think maybe also it's rooted in the history of the brand as well, because we started to export our watches at the very beginning of the 19th century, and so I think by exporting watches to other continents as well, I think it has also opened very much our mind. So I think we have this very much rooted in our identity, if I may say as well.
Well, it definitely comes true, and so thank you guys for welcoming me. Now, Christian, I know you had asked me a question just before we sat down.
Oh, yeah.
Is this a sports watch or is it an elegant watch? So I would like to go around the table and hear what you guys have to say. I would say it is a watch that in some ways is perfectly reflective of the modern life, which is a life in which sports and elegance are blended together, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I think you can't see under the table, but we're, you know, Christian and I are wearing sneakers, you know, and that's part of the idea of today, that you can be elegant but still wear sneakers.
Yeah.
Right? You can be relaxed, but conduct yourself in an elegant way. Yeah. And I think that this watch is incredibly expressive and symbolic of that. You know, how about for you guys? Alex, for you, elegant or sports?
I fully agree. I think it's both. I think it's extremely versatile, as in it can be very elegant and dressy, but it could also be more sporty, depending on what you pair it with. And I think the second versatility is, for me, it fits men as well as women. Like, I think both, you know,
that's a great
anyone
point.
can rock a 222 in a great way.
Anne-Marie, how do you feel?
Same, I would say both. Actually, I'm wearing the small one, which is from 1979.
Phenomenal.
The vintage one,
yeah.
so very happy with it. And it's both
It's
elegant
both, yeah.
and sporty.
Yeah. So yeah. Why I was asking that question because I'm still questioning myself about that. So on my side, I would say I found the 222 more on the elegant side, because in my mind I think about overseas, which is for me the perfect sport elegant timepiece. But I agree with you, what you say. So I think probably it's both.
Well, you know, you said something very interesting to me, because we're both fans of tailoring. And I think the objective when you get really interested in tailoring is that you want your jackets to be as light as possible, to be completely one with your movements and so on. I believe the tailors in Naples say the jacket should be as light as the winds over Vesuvius. You know, the Italians are very colorful.
Yeah,
you know?
sure. That's great.
And I have to say, having had this on my wrist now for about 30 minutes, it is just effortless to wear, you know? And there's certain watches that you get that, you know, they may be very beautiful, but because they're a little bit more effort to wear, maybe there's something that, you know, abrades against your wrist a little bit, or a crown might be a little bit sharp, or it's just not as balanced as it possibly could be. It starts to give you kind of like psychological reminder that it's on your wrist all times. This is like wearing a great jacket. You just forget it's on, you know, and I love that.
I think it's a super point when, in a sense, before you said as well that the weight on this timepiece is super well balanced between the bracelet and case. And I think it adds a lot of comfort as well. Because on some watches, not ours, sometimes you have a case which is much, let's say, heavier than the bracelet, and you feel that unbalanced weight. And in the case of the 222, it just perfect.
Yeah, I mean, what actually happens is that the watch starts to shift all the time,
Yeah.
and because of that, like you start to feel this uneasiness because it feels like
very much.
it's a little bit unstable. But I think that a lot of that has to do with the incredible work that was done to create this as a truly contemporary watch and massively elevate the quality as well, right? You know, Alex, we were discussing earlier that because you have, as the owners of one of the most incredible heritage departments with a great heritage director, many of the vintage pieces as well. And it's interesting because if you close your eyes and you hold a vintage watch and then you hold this watch, you can immediately, from a tactile experience, feel they're completely different watches.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% true, yeah. Like we said before, for me also it's showcasing the evolution of manufacturing techniques and technologies, which obviously in 1977 it wouldn't be possible to create such a bracelet. And it's great that we could implement the state-of-the-art techniques into creating this bracelet, which is probably what is the more modern, if I may say, compared with the original one.
So we talk about Vacheron having warmth and being kind to one another and being kind to their customers and people in general. How did Vacheron become the coolest brand in auto luxury? This is what I want to know, because and I've been around for a long time as well. I've always had admiration for Vacheron. I've always had reverence for Vacheron as well. Yet somehow in the last, I would say, 5-6 years, or maybe the period that coincides with the current CEO's leadership, who I'm a big fan of, it managed to keep all of that. It didn't change who it was, but it became so incredibly relevant and desirable and cool, right? Like all my friends, like the cool guys like Wes Lang, for example, like they're like, I want a Vacheron. For the last 5-6 years, again, I've been kind of reveling from a distance, like trying to figure out why it was that Vacheron was just killing it. I mean, just absolutely killing it. Like whether it came to high complications, killing it with their coming to heritage revivals with the Capinotier, or Capinotier pieces as well, or with the overseas, and then finally with the 222. Everything that was done super well, and the watches were sublime, right? Like the overseas perpetual calendar today, I think is probably the most beautiful integrated bracelet sports chic perpetual calendar or complication in existence. It's insane. The only watch that rivals that is the titanium tourbillon version of that watch as well, which is also insane. So what's going on at Vacheron? Why are you guys just suddenly creating such extraordinary watches? It feels like you're hitting like an incredibly high note right now.
I think maybe we can talk about some of the values that we have at Vacheron Constantin. And I would say the first one is to do few things, but to do them very, very well. We were talking about it a little bit earlier. It's making choices, and once we decide to go for something, to do it all the way. And we have the motto of one of our founders, who used to say, do better if possible, which is always possible. So it's really not trying to be fast, but doing things and taking the time to do them the right way, and if possible, even better. So I think few choices and doing them extremely well.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the guiding principles at Vacheron Constantin.
And being consistent.
Yeah.
On a long way as well. Yeah.
And I would say the other one is, and we were talking about it earlier, but it's really this balance between our very rich heritage and infusing ourselves from that heritage while being contemporary. And I think it's always finding inspiration from the heritage, which guides us into what is genuinely Vacheron Constantin, and then finding ways of interpreting it in a modern way. And I think the watch you're wearing on your wrist could not be a better example of that.
Well, I will say one last thing about this watch, and I don't want to capitalize all of our time because I know the food is here, and I'm sure you guys would like to eat at some point. But I have to say, everything that you've achieved from a design perspective, from a quality perspective, for all the key collections, demonstrating your capacity to be excellent in so many different fields is phenomenal. Then on top of that, the fact that everyone's super nice. Like, it's just the coolest brand around, and I think maybe that's part of the secret as to why people feel they want to be part of that community.
Yeah, it's a super interesting comment, but yeah.
So this is actually, in fact, my second Vacheron Constantin. I wish I had a greater watch budget, but unfortunately I'm a journalist still. So, but my first ever Vacheron Constantin was a yellow gold watch as well. For what I know, one of the very few contemporary Coin de Vaches that was made in this material.
Oh, beautiful.
And it was a Capinotier piece that I was given permission to make. But the journey of making this watch was also extraordinary because I got to do it together with Christian, and it really expressed the warmth and the sincerity of this incredible maison, right? And so it took place over the course of year and a half. He actually came to Basel Fair with sample dials to show me while I was doing my watch journalism gig there, and we sat in the cafe and looked at dials, which was incredible. We actually went to the dial manufacturer as well, and to see how they were being made as well. We had long conversations about every detail of the indexes and so on like that.
Yeah.
And it was a wonderful sort of like 1 year journey. I remember after Watches and Wonders, because Christian was kind enough to give me the sample dials to take a look at, I went to Venice. I was at the Gritty Palace, sitting there having a Negroni, and then the guys from the bar were, "What is that?" And I was like, "Oh, you see, there's a dials for a watch," and then they all had their own opinion as well.
Excellent.
It became really about.
No, that was a
So it was a
phenomenal
talking piece
story.
before it was a talking piece.
Yes, but it's this sort of like humanity, it's this warmth. And then, incredibly, when the watch I was finally presented the watch, Christian and his team had put the other dials that I had not selected into a display case and had given those to me as part of the journey of that watch, with the understanding that if I would one day like to change the dial for one of the others, then that could be done. But it was an incredible demonstration of the human dimension of this maison, which continues to exist, and I feel is expressed perfectly by this. So.
And our CEO, Louis, in fact, likes a lot to talk about the human adventure. He calls it the human adventure, which I think is spot on in terms of articulating that human side, which is so important to us at Vacheron Constantin.
I mean, he has really become one of the leaders in this industry that I admire the most. What he's done with Vacheron, while making it even more Vacheron, but also making it the coolest brand around, to do things steadily, focused, and execute them incredibly well. I mean, is really, bravo. So I know he's not here, but shout out to him as well.
Indeed.
All right. Guys, thank you so much. And
Thank you, Wei.
let's eat.
Let's
you.
eat, indeed.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Cool.